Hey, good morning, everybody. I am thrilled that you're here. Today I'm doing a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart, which is why I'm doing it inside in one of my favorite places, my super comfy chair. And because I didn't want my Wi-Fi to get all messed up by being outside today, because this is an important topic. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman, a body-mind expert, a shiatsu massage therapist, and I help women who are in toxic and narcissistic relationships really find their way free, find the clarity, get their body-mind in place, get rid of the brain fog, get their energy up, learn how to set boundaries, learn how to find their voice, release past traumas, get healthy habits in place, all of those really wonderful things, which are the foundation, almost the scaffolding. Because if you try to create, the next chapter of your life, if you try to change the dynamic of your relationship without doing, some of these foundational pieces, then you're going to end up feeling it's going to be very hard. It's a very, very hard road to sort of start from scratch. So if you're wondering, how do you leave your job? How do you leave your, spouse? How do you leave your boyfriend? How do you cope with and stay with your spouse or your boyfriend or your job? How do you, make it through that? If it's after the fact, you're going through the divorce and you're finding out just how nasty or even nastier that your narcissist is than you ever thought that they could be, then that's who I work with. So what's been coming up a lot lately for many women in my practice has been an enormous amount of anger. First of all, it's perfectly okay to be angry because you have the right to be angry, because you have been treated poorly for a very long time and felt like you were helpless and there was nothing you can do, and the narcissist had all of the control. So, one of the walls or challenges that I had to get through, and maybe this will be helpful, is I was raised to be nice, and that I wasn't treated very nicely, and I made a pact with myself, when I was in my 20s. I said, I will never, ever be like the people that treated me this way, ever. I'm going to be nice, I'm going to be giving, I'm going to be generous, I'm going to go over the top, and I will never be a threat. I will always be safe to people. Well, lo and behold, when you hold that sort of belief that you are going to be the nicest person on the planet, what happens is it's actually not very nice, because what it does is it encourages people many times to behave in ways that will make their life worse. If they have mental health issues, always giving something to someone and not communicating and not setting boundaries, they never learn how to communicate. They never learn how to set boundaries. They never learn how to have good relationships. So when you really care about someone, and you're probably in a relationship with a narcissist that you do care about, it's actually in their best interests when you start to evolve and you start to grow, and that you start to recognize and learn how to manage your emotions. Because when you learn how to manage your emotions, you're able to role model and influence and affect, or at least take control and leave or get support or develop a better life for yourself. So one of the main things that it's important to learn to do is how to manage your anger. And the first thing to know about managing your anger is to be okay with it. We're angry a lot of times because we have a conflict, because we don't just have one emotion going on. We're feeling guilty, or we're grieving, or we're feeling helpless, or we're feeling frustrated, or we're feeling overstimulated by sensations, or a million different things, and they come together inside of us, and when they conflict, they make you feel angry. Now, anger is like the end. It's what happens when you have all of these conflicts. But if you don't deal with the anger, if you don't learn how to release that anger or work with that anger in a way that works really well for you, then it's going to make you sick. Then you'll never understand or get a hold of what's going on with your anger, because the anger will control you. I mean, that's part of what happens with the narcissist. Why they behave the way that they do is because they get hijacked by their emotions. You know, they're insecure and they're guilty and they're protective and they've got past trauma, and the only expression they have is anger. And unless they also learn how to deal with their anger, then they're going to stay trapped. So it's good for you to, number one, be okay with the fact that you have the right, justifiably, to be very, very pissed off. And that the causes of you being pissed off are more complex than just whose fault it is or who's to blame or why did you do this to yourself again. That's why your mind ends up spinning, because it can't land on the whole thing, the whole complexity of what's going on. And one of the things that can drive a lot of anger are past experiences where you had to suppress your emotions. Those are called traumas. When we have an experience where we have no control, we don't feel we have any control, it's unexpected, and we have no way to process it through or sort it out. Then when something happens that reminds us of that situation, it comes up and overwhelms us, and the anger just consumes how you feel. So many times it's not the situation itself, which is how a lot of guilt comes in, right? You know, you feel like you overreacted and yelled at your dog or your child or a random person on the street, and you expressed your anger in a way that you don't like. That just adds onto the guilt. That just adds onto the layer and makes the anger the next time even bigger. So when you don't start recognizing that you have to express the anger, because if you don't express it, it's going to leak out in a million different ways. It's going to find a way to sabotage what you're trying to do. It's going to hit you unexpectedly. It's going to make you behave in ways that now you have to clean up in some way, or apologize for, or ignore, or there are consequences for expressing that anger in a way that causes messes. So you have to first acknowledge that it's perfectly fine that you're angry, and understandable and normal and human that you feel angry. It doesn't make you bad, and that there are ways to manage and control it, and that the anger is a side effect of all of these other things going on, the traumas and the overstimulation and the tiredness and the overwhelm. The anger is a result of that. And when you start working on the pieces underneath it, then you start learning how to manage your anger so that it doesn't consume you. So how do I manage my anger? Well, first of all, when I get angry, I'll tell you the process. Let's say something makes me angry. The first thing I do is I pause, because to react out of anger means that I may do something that will cause me further problems. Doesn't mean that I pause for forever, but it means that in the moment I pause. And sometimes it's really smart, because it protects you from making things worse, from escalating a situation. So I pause. And if I have to pause until later that night or till the next day, until I get a space to look at why I was angry and to feel why I was angry, I make sure I address it. And when I'm in the middle of the anger, I tell myself, you know what, now's not a really good time to be angry. So then I go to the bathroom. I get myself out of the situation as soon as possible. I do a trick. It's called no resistance. I don't resist what's going on. I just keep repeating to myself, no resistance, no resistance, no resistance. Unless, of course, there's physical violence involved. When physical violence starts being involved, then you really need to get yourself to a safe place. That's key. But I don't give any resistance to the moment, so that it's a way to protect myself, as well as I give myself a promise that I'm going to look at this stuff later and I'm going to let myself be angry. So let's say I get angry, I pause, I leave the situation, I say, you know what, I'm having a hard time with my emotions. I'm really struggling with this right now. I appreciate what you have to say, but I need to go to the bathroom. I need to pause and take a break. Thank you for telling me how you feel. No matter how angry I am, I have a little script I use to get myself out, which is thank you for telling me how you feel. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that you can be so honest. And thank you, and I need to take a break. Now, on the surface, this looks like you're capitulating. It looks like you're weak, like you're not standing up for yourself, like you're not speaking your voice, like you're not, doing what you need to do. But you're actually being really smart, because the person who is best able to manage their emotions are the ones who are able to take a situation and make it work to their advantage. That's what narcissists are trying to do. They're trying to make you angry. They're trying to get you out of your rational mind, because then you're controllable. So one of the ways to take back that control is to breathe, give it the pause, get yourself out of the situation, express gratitude or whatever that someone has been open with you. And many times that'll take people off guard. And it'll give you that break that you need, like you just need to do the one thing so that you can escape for a while. And gratitude is something that people don't expect. They're used to people arguing or shutting up or not, or totally bending over. But when you have a little script that says, you know what, I'm glad you shared that with me. That's a great piece of information. I'm struggling right now, and you don't have to say I'm struggling right now. You say, I really need the bathroom, I need to go for a walk, I've got an appointment I need to be at. And that tool alone has saved me from many traumatic situations, because my response or my reaction, if it's anything but calm and centered, will tend to escalate a situation. And even if it doesn't escalate it right now, it will escalate it later. Like even if you win, even if you say the thing that it stuns them, the narcissist, they're solely focused on how they feel and how important it is that they feel. And they will come back, and find a way to get back at you. So one of the best things is to have that script, stay with that pause, stay with that appreciation, no matter how you feel, and find a space where you can start to deal with that emotion. The next thing you need to do, once you've got that space, is find a way to move. Part of, a good example is when you see, let's say, an antelope. You've all seen the net after the antelope, and the antelope freezes in place, so that the lion can't quite figure out where the antelope is, because it's prowling around, and then the lion leaves. Then the antelope will do a big body shake, because while it was standing there paralyzed, it was having that fight or flight reaction, and it dumps an enormous amount of adrenaline into your system. And if you don't do something with that adrenaline, if you don't do something physical with that adrenaline to flush it out, to get it out of your system in some way, that it becomes an illness. So even though you may think it's not good to get mad, nice people don't get mad, you have to express it in some way. Now, my favorite way was always to, in my mind's eye, in my visualization, to hit softballs or baseballs or do something with the bat, to swing, and move that energy, because your body doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what you actually do. So if you imagine something, your nervous system still reacts, it's still moving it. So, some things we've talked about lately have been feeling like you are this amazing ocean wave and all of that storm and crashing and being that wave and being that energy, really feeling yourself as if you're that wave. You can do that in your imagination, even if you're in a doctor's office sitting in a chair. On the outside, you look perfectly composed, but on the inside, you're doing your emotional work. It works just the same way. Or you can do something physical. I like the rowing machine because it involves my whole body. It involves that movement, and I can adjust how fast or how slow I'm going. So it needs to be something physical. Adrenaline out of your body, okay? Once you get the adrenaline out of your body, that's when you are able to come back into your rational mind. And that's when the solutions come. That's when you start to see connections or insights. And you want to do, they play football games after the fact to look at the game and critique it, figure out what was going on. You need to also do the same thing with that encounter. Once you're calmed down from your anger, you need to self-reflect on it and see how it went, what you might want to try next time, because remember, it's all an experiment, to do any nourishing or nurturing that you need to do for yourself. So that part of you feels like it's heard and valued. And you have to deal with any trauma that from the past that might have come up. I have a little memory thing where I think about a previous time I felt that way, like I was betrayed or hurt or helpless, and I let a memory come up around that, and I let myself finally be there in that memory for myself to validate the feelings that I had to suppress and to give myself the love and the support and the hand-holding and the wisdom that I should have gotten when I was going through that initial trauma. If you do those things and you take time to self-reflect on what happened, what you want to do next, how you want to handle it, how you ended up in that situation in the first place, what you can, when you kind of do a little quarterbacking, on the other side of the anger, you're able to make changes or at least try different things so you know what's working, what doesn't work, in order to get a handle on, in order to take your power back and really start to sort out what you want to do next and what your next step is, whether it's ways to get healthy or ways to engage with the narcissist differently, or habits you want to put in place, or tools you need to develop, or skills you need to develop, all of those things. And then you take the next step. You take the thing that came up from this lesson, from this experience, from this very hard experience that you've now allowed yourself to feel and process through, not just now, but something in the past. And you learn from it. And you say, okay, what happened? What can I do differently? What do I want to do next? What do I need to work on until the next time that there's a flare-up? And when you come up kind of with a plan, visualize it in your mind, because that will get you familiar. Try out different arguments and listen to how they respond and be like, okay, so maybe that isn't the best thing to say. Try out different scripts in your head and listen to how the reaction might be. So test them out in your imagination, how it might turn out, until you find something that works for you, or until you find something that you want to try next time, or a book you want to read with a new tool, and then you'll try that new tool in the engagement. So you have to use the experience not to fix your health and enjoy your life. That should be your end game, with or without the narcissist. So you want to continually be taking those steps, especially when you're in a good space, when you feel better for a while. That's when you put things in place so that you're ready for when you're in a bad space. You don't just ignore it or shut it off or cut it out. Instead, you plan for it. You're like, okay, things are smooth light right now, they're quiet, and so I'm going to put Post-it notes in places to remind me that I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm healthy, this isn't all there is, every moment will pass, to sustain me when I'm going to be in a rough period. Or this, so that it's in place for when I'm knocked on my butt, and I've got this habit already in place, it builds up and gives you the nourishment that you need so that you're more resilient when things happen. Because if you're tired or overwhelmed or exhausted because you're just trying to survive and get through, then things will tend to get worse and worse and worse because your body's more stressed, you're more stressed. And so that's what to do with your anger. And you sure as heck should have plenty of it, because you're not only picking up your narcissist anger, you're feeling the vibration off of them and it's affecting you, but you're remembering other experiences, your nervous system is, other experiences where there was all this anger, and you're trying to, make good decisions, so you're suppressing all of the anger. I mean, it just good for you. At the end of the day, that is not good for you. You have to start feeling and working through and processing and clearing and understanding your anger and starting to come up with stress management ways so that you can move through it as gracefully as possible, okay? So there you are for the day. I know a lot of info, but a lot of good info. So come back to this when you need it. Couple different resources. One, I've partnered with a narcissist book where you can learn everything about that. We have a conference call every week and then a private Facebook group. Or if you feel stuck, call me. We'll, message me. We'll do a one-on-one clarity call where we're able to figure out where you're at, what's going on, where, you need to go. And I charge for that, but if you decide you end up wanting to coach with me, then it rolls into the package. Don't worry about time. Don't worry about money. We always figure out a way to make it work. No matter what it is, we come up with a solution, okay? So if you're ready to move on with your life, if you're feeling stuck, if you need better tools, if counseling isn't enough, if your body's starting to betray you, if you have trauma in your past, if you need to get out, if you're dealing with the divorce, let me know, because we'll start to get you what you need and the support that you need so that you can get through this. You're not alone, and you don't have to do this alone anymore. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.